Pirates trade Josh Bell to the Nats for prospect. How does he fit with the Nats? Will we ever see the 2019 Josh Bell again? We're going to project the Nats lineup, also look at their 40-man roster, discuss their needs going forward. We're also going to break down the two prospects going to the Pirates. It's Eddie Ying, 19-year-old Dominican prospect, and Will Crow, a 26-year-old college pitching prospect. Both are right-handers. So we're going to talk about all of that, look at the Pirates prospect breakdown, all that, much, much more. It's Joeylytics. Rock with me. Welcome to Joeylytics. It's your man Joey D on TCST, the Council Sports Talk. I am your host, Joey D. Please, of course, leave a comment, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend, like, and follow the Council Sports Talk on Facebook. And Twitter and Instagram is at Council Talk. Josh Bell traded from the Pirates to the Nats. This is a fairly big deal for both teams, especially the Nationals, who are trying to stay competitive in the National League East. So Josh Bell is a former All-Star. Actually, technically, he is the current reigning All-Star at first base, or at least one of them. He goes to the Pirates. The prospects coming back to the Nats are Eddie Ying, as I mentioned, right-handed pitcher from the DR, 19 years old, and Will Crow, who is 26, I believe, out of the University of South Carolina. My first reaction to the deal on the Pirates' end is they are always, it seems, looking to move their players before their homegrown players. Like all of their guys are homegrown. They don't even really participate in the free agent market whatsoever. They'll make some trades, but all their guys tend to be homegrown, and they tend to need to trade them before they hit the market as free agents or before the player control time is up. Josh Bell is in his actual second year of arbitration. So, of course, it's hard to see where the Pirates are headed. They, unlike teams, well, let's put it like this. We have examples in Major League Baseball of how to work on a small budget. So there's very, very little excuse for the Pirates. They're in a division with markets like Cincinnati and Milwaukee. So there's really no reason why they would be perennially running in fifth place as they do. And again, I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see really what their exit strategy is, because if you're going to continue to trade out from your homegrown prospects before they hit their prime, at what point are you going to have enough of them to field a competitive team? Let's talk about how. Well, first let's look at this. This is an article in the Score. This is written by Simon Sharkey Gottlieb, and I'll just read from the article. Washington acquired slugging first baseman Josh Bell from the Pirates for Will Crow and Ed Ying. He had a down year. Well, let's put it like this. He has been the starting first baseman since 2017. The 2020 season, we're pretty much going to throw it out. However, on the Josh Bell side of things, there's some alarming numbers to look at, starting with, in my opinion, the most outstanding negative numbers that Josh Bell put together in 2020 was the fact that he only had 11 extra base hits in 2 months of a season, 60 games, 11 extra base hits in 60 games. And of those 11 hits, extra base hits, 8 were home runs. All right, so that is really, really alarming. Only 22 RBIs in that time, and of course, the Pirates are not necessarily a good team or a bad team. They're literally the worst team. We're the worst team in the majors, and are headed towards the first pick. Um, I'll continue to read. Bell can provide a major boost to the Nats team that got a little production. And again, their first base situation is horrible. Their third base situation is also pretty bad um, in terms of production. I know Carter Keyboom has some potential, but in terms of production now, it's really problematic for them. Um, so they're looking for Josh Bell to replace some of that. The two pitchers headed to Pittsburgh, meanwhile, were ranked number 3 and number 6 by MLB.com and the Pirates organization. Crow made his major league debut. He got shelled in his appearance in 2020. He might have had more than one appearance. I'm not sure. But he has some definite upside, in my opinion. So we will take a closer look at him coming up in this show. But let's really dig deep into the Josh Bell portion of this. So, going to Spot Track, checking out Josh Bell's contract. It is the for those that don't know how Major League Baseball contracts work, I call these development contracts. It's the player control contract. You control a player on in the majors for 3 years, 3 years of major league service time before that player becomes a free agent. Well, before that player is eligible for arbitration, he's then eligible for arbitration an additional 3 times. So in those first 3 years, he's being paid the minimum plus annual increases each year, minimal annual increases each year. So when you're looking at Josh Bell's earnings here, you'll see that he was in that the range of let's see, about $400,000-$500,000 for those first 3 years, and then he hit arbitration, and the arbitration that he's, let's see, 507, there it goes, 507, 549, 572 before he goes to his first arbitration, where he got, I believe, $5 million, and right below 5 million, 4.8. So he is getting a raise this season that's going to have him between that and 7 million is the reports that I'm seeing. So the Pirates were looking to get out of that, and as we will discuss, they're not necessarily wrong for doing it, because there is some concern on my part, and should been probably where the Pirates were looking at it in terms of Josh Bell's potential upside. Is he done progressing? Is he what he is, or does he still have the ability to improve? Okay, so that's a lot to have on your plate, especially in the Pirate situation, where they don't want to run into his control time being up, and they're going to have to pay him at that time or trade him at that time. If they feel like he is not going to continue to improve, which that's again a fair uh, way to look at it, then this is the best time to move him. Otherwise, it probably would have made sense to hold out while you still had a little bit of control and then see if he could rebound. All right. So let's take a look at Josh Bell's career arc so far. Drafted with the second round, 61st overall in 2011. Out of high school, I believe he was in some type of extended prep school. I am not 100% sure of that, but big slugging, switch hitting first baseman, um, who, if he turns out to progress and to at least return to his 2019 form, he is an extremely solid player. Let's look at his career progression. He started out in 2012, his age 19 season. This is a season after he was drafted. He didn't play short season the season he was drafted, 2012, and he only played 15 games in that 2012 season. So we're going to throw that out. All right. In 2013, 119 at bats. He had a really good season, 279 average, 353 on base percentage, 13 home runs, 76 RBI, 75 runs. 2014, he got the promotion to high A, 331 at bats there, 9 homers, 53 RBIs, 335 batting average with 384 on base percentage. The extra base hit percentage, 29.7%. Promoted at the end of that year to Altoona just for a short 24 games. We'll throw that out. 2015, starting in at Altoona, 29 games, just 5 home runs. And this is where my concern with Josh Bell comes into play. He's really streaky with his power. Sometimes it's not even there at all. 307, 376 in that double A season. Altoona pushed up to triple A to end the year. We'll throw that out. 2016, starting in triple A Indy, 114 at bats, 114 games, 421 at bats, 14 home runs there. So that establishes his career mark, 295 average, 382. So again, scared of the power or the lack thereof. 2017, he's in the majors for the full season for the first time. Does very, very well. 255 with a 334 on base percentage, 26 homers, 90 and 75. The next year, this is again what scares me about Josh Bell. Down to 12 home runs, 501 at bats, with just a 261 average. That is not a good player for a slugging first baseman. 2019, he skyrockets. He peaks. 37 homers, 116 RBIs, 94 run scores, 118 strikeouts in 143 games. Not bad at all. 277 with a 367 on base percentage. That's 90 points over his average. That he has maintained throughout his career, but a 52% extra base hit percentage, and then 2020, just 2 months. We're not gonna go crazy about it, but it is scary. You don't know necessarily if he would have been able to bounce back if 2020 had the 4 months of the season that wasn't there. It's also a late start. The whole thing is just screwed up. We're just going to throw the season out. Again, he is a defending all-star first baseman. His fielding is a bit of an issue. If you look at his positional grid throughout his career arc, it's 199 games in right field, 688 games at first base, 31 at DH. He really, really feels like he should be an American League player, and this is an issue that the Nats are going to have without having a DH in the National League. So with no DH in the National League, you're stuck playing Josh Bell at first base, if not right field. So you kind of lose some flexibility. If you can find another first baseman, the Nats, a first baseman that can really slug and add some more depth and ability to your lineup, you might consider at that point to play Josh Bell at first base. I mean at right field, but otherwise, Josh Bell is really a right field, a first baseman that's not necessarily good defensively. This leads us to how he compares with other first basemen, and this is where you start to get the picture that Josh Bell is not necessarily is not necessarily uh, the type of player who you can really build a team around or a franchise type player, as would be suggested by his 2019 numbers. Okay, so he and again, when I boil Josh Bell all the way down, to me, I describe his ability like this: he lacks consistent power. Okay, and again, you kind of need that for all the other things that he doesn't do. Okay, he's unproven, and I say he's unproven because we only have seen I believe 4 years now, 5 years of in his career, and it's been a little bit up and down. And included in that is 2020, which again we throw out. So we've seen Josh Bell be really really good to great, and we've also seen him hit 12 home runs, 13 home runs, and 500 at bats. Okay, so he's unproven in my opinion, and he hasn't really leveled off or peaked. All right, which again is scary because of his age. He's up there. He's 28 years old or 29. I'm not sure at the current moment, but he struggles to stand out over his peers, and that's what you're going to see when we're looking at the next set of stats. Um, he needs to put up elite production for the Nats. So the price that he's getting paid is a platoon price. All right, it's the price for a part-time player, a platoon a platoon player, even at the 7 million, which could be really really beneficial to the Nats. But going forward, he's going to get raises and eventually going to hit free agency. But they do need elite production from Josh Bell to make up to justify the two players that were traded for him, the two prospects. So looking now at first base WAR, okay, Josh Bell was 10th in 2019, and the number is 2.5. And again, you got Pete Alonso sitting at 4.8, that's setting the ceiling. Josh Bell is 10th with his great 37 home run, 116 RBI season. So Josh Bell peaked out here, balled out all the way, peaked, and he's still only 10th compared to his peers at that position. And that's the thing. If Josh Bell were putting up those numbers at shortstop, at catcher, oh my goodness, Josh Bell would be a great player. But he's doing it at first base. And, and even looking at him being 10th, well, 11th is Christian Walker, 2.2. Then Reese Hoskins at 2.2. All the way down to Luke Voigt, number 15, at 1.6, or Daniel Vogelbach for the Mariners at 1.6. So he's not separating from his peers. If you look at the top guys that are 4 and over, those guys are getting some separation. Matt Olson at 3.9 is getting some separation. Josh Bell is not separating from his peers. He's stuck in the middle among first basemen, and um, that's not really really great production when you look at it from that perspective. All right, when you compare Josh Bell to the major league leaders in WAR at any position, Mike Trout sets the pace at 8.6 in 2019, followed by Bregman at 8.5. But check this out: Rendon, which is what the Nats are trying to replace, 7. All right, couple other ones to look at that stand out amongst his teammates, Pirates and now Nationals. Trey Turner, 3.5. There's a couple of guys in here from the Nats. Victor Robles, 2.5. Josh Bell, Victor Robles, 2.5. Josh Bell, 2.5. So again, it's very questionable Josh Bell's value. Kevin Newman for the Pirates, 2.4. If you were to ask who's more valuable, Josh Bell or Kevin Newman, you would say hands down it was Josh Bell. But it turns out, looking at the WAR, it's not the case. WAR is not the be all end all. All right, and so I'd like to make sure that's out there. All right, WAR is not the be all end all because Josh Bell was definitely more valuable than Kevin Newman, and that's a great example right there of why WAR is really iffy as a stat. Okay, um, this is the Nationals and what their depth chart now looks like. When you're looking at the Nats, again, you got to look at the context of the Nats competing in the National League East: Braves, Marlins, Phillies, Mets, etc. Obviously, they're coming in with phenomenal pitching, but their depth chart has they've got some holes. Andrew Stevenson to me is a huge hole. I don't see him as a starting outfielder, much less. Well, this is Fangraphs, who has him projected as a leadoff hitter, but I don't really see that. So at the top of the order, even Andrew Stevenson. Bottom of the order, Carter Keyboom, you have issues, and then you also have issues at the top, the middle of the order, protecting Juan Soto. I like Starlin Castro. I think Starlin Castro is a positive player. Obviously, we know what Trey Turner is, but they need Josh Bell to be 2019 Josh Bell for this to make sense for them. All right, if he can sit there in the middle of the lineup and provide some legit protection for Juan Soto, it might work out for the Nats. And again, he's a switch hitter, so there's some versatility there in the lineup. I would consider pushing Starlin Castro up. This is just not a good looking lineup. They need Victor Robles to take off. They need Carter Keyboom to take off. Otherwise, the Nats are going to have a huge problem. When I consider the team needs for the Nats, okay, to me the biggest need for the Nats is Carter Keyboom to ball out. All right, is for Stevenson to be better than he ever was. I don't see it with Andrew Stevenson in terms of his career arc. All right, they also need to get a couple of additional bats to kind of balance out this lineup. Utility bats, bats off the bench, and I'm talking about elite plus bats, and they've done a good job with that, with the likes of the Starlin Castros, the likes of the Howie Kendricks. Tried it with Cabrera. Tried it with a couple other players that had hit tools that you can plug in, not everyday guys, but you put them in a particular context and they can thrive. They've tried that, but you can't build off of that. You can't build a solid everyday lineup off of that, but you do need a couple of those guys to complement the lineup. And of course, they always need to strengthen their bullpen. They're heavily invested in starting pitching, but they need to produce 4.5, 5 runs a game to make that stand up. And they need to have a bullpen that pitches, that holds leads and closes games for them. All right. Let's switch. Let's talk about what the Pirates are getting. and how those guys could possibly project. All right. The first one we'll go to is Will Crow. Will Crow. Will Crow is a college pitcher, and I think Will Crow, from what I've been hearing, is getting a bad rap in this deal. I feel like a lot of the Pittsburgh fans feel like Josh Bell was given away, and the Pirates really didn't get anything back for him. I get it; he's homegrown. There's a sense of or what's the word I'm looking for? There's an emotional connection to Josh Bell, but again, the production is really iffy and it's really questionable. Um, if he works out, if it turns out for works out for the Nats, great. But I think Will Crow could turn out to be a pleasant surprise. 6'2", 230, right-handed pitcher, University of South Carolina. Cool thing about Will Crow, he was drafted 3 times. All right, which you got to take a look at that. Will Crow was drafted 3 times, which says something. So let me rephrase that. Any prospect of this um, level is going to be drafted 3 times. That's based on his decision making. He opted for to take a college scholarship to South Carolina instead of signing with the Cleveland Indians. Bing, is there a bell? I need a bell sound effect. I'm gonna work on that. But that just hit me. If he's drafted by the Cleveland Indians in 2013, currently there is no other franchise in Major League Baseball who does a better job at drafting and developing pitchers. So for Cleveland to take a high school pitcher in 2013, he was 921st overall in the 31st round, so I won't go crazy, but they took him. All right, out of Pigeon Forge High School in Tennessee. He opted for college, University of South Carolina. After 3 years at college, Cleveland drafted him again. This time it was in the 21st round. Um, and he opted to return to South Carolina for one more season. 2017, he was drafted again, and this time in the second round. So he improved his draft stock big time. But I do think that the idea that Cleveland was onto this guy tells me that he may be, he may have something that attracted them because they're not messing around. The fact that they're interested kind of raises the alarm on him. So let's look at his career arc at so far. So it's 3 years in South Carolina. Pretty good. He was really good as a freshman, 8.3 with a 2.75 ERA in 15 games started. And 2017, his senior year, 3.41 ERA. He then is sent to Gulf Coast League, age 22 season. This is the second half of the season after his senior season at South Carolina, and pitched well, 20 innings. Actually, in the Gulf Coast League, he gave you just 2 games, 4.91, throw that out. But sent to the New York Penn League short season A, where he started 7 games and pitched really well. And the short season A Penn League, for those that don't know, it's not going to be the same going forward. But at this point, this is where you saw a lot of the high college draft picks compete against each other. So he did very well there. 20 innings, 18 hits, 1.02 whip, 15 Ks. Came back in 2018, started at Potomac in high A, pitched well there, 11-0 with a 2.69 ERA in 16 games. And I think this is when you start to see a trend develop for for uh, for Will Crow. As he moves up, he struggles just a little bit. He figures it out, and then he becomes great. Um, and in the 2018 season, he was from the beginning at Potomac at High A. He cruised all the way through. They sent him to Double A Harrisburg for the last 5 games of the season, where he was not good. So this is where I'm saying where he moves up and he struggles. Comes back 2019 in Double A, and he has a very good season, 7-6 with a 3.87 ERA, 95 innings, and 16 starts. Went to AAA, 10 starts, and again he struggled. But what I'm taking away from the 2019 season now is his his innings. Okay, at that point now he has topped out at 150 innings. So this is very important. With there being no 2020 season, we didn't get to see Will Crow go to AAA and continue the trend where he would have had a great year at AAA, got bumped to the majors, and then struggled. He got the bump to the majors and struggled, but he never got a chance to pitch in AAA. So this leaves us in a situation of wondering what is going to be the best setup for Will Crow. The Nats got him to, he pitched in the big leagues last year. All right, Pirates fans? So that says something. And again, that was his age 25 season. This is going to be his age 26 season. Expect him to start at AAA, Indianapolis. Expect him to do well. Expect him to catch a bump to the big leagues. Expect him to struggle at that point, and then look for 2022 for Will Crow to establish that he's a major league rotation pitcher. So if you're getting a major league rotation pitcher for Josh Bell, you're at a position where you can look at the deal and say, you can look at the deal and feel like you did okay. All right, if he does, I'm projecting him back of the rotation, number 4, number 5 prospect, number 4, number 5 starter, and again, important to note, he's an older player, but he shows a consistent pattern of improvement, and he may have some upside going forward, according to the Cleveland Indians. Technically. All right. The next player that they received is a 19-year-old prospect that I'm going to say is very hard to project or even figure out what Eddie Ying looks like. And we're going to blame that on 2020 also. But here's what I'm picking up in terms of who Eddie Ying is. Eddie Ying looks like he is a very athletic prospect. And most of the commentary on him points to his physical attributes. And you can see it. You can see it in his build. He's just has a very strong build, a very strong lower body build also. So let's check out, let's see, all right. So 19 years old, Sabana Grande de Boya, Dominican Republic. Signed in 2017, 3 years ago, so he was 16 when he signed, which of course is the norm. All right, they got him listed right now at 6'1", 280, but that, of course, is going to be, that was probably his age 16 uh, measurements. All right. So in terms of his play so far, there ain't much. 2018, he was stayed in the DR. 17 in the Dominican Summer League. He did pitch in 10 games, all 10, 11 games, 10 starts, 43 innings. He gave up 57 hits and 40 runs. Only 29 of those runs were earned, though, but still, that's crazy. And then 32 strikeouts, 9 wild pitches, 4 hit batters. So quite wild. And you don't really see the high strikeout stuff, and he's given up a lot of hits. That's 17-year-old Eddie Ying. In 2019, he's now in Florida playing in the Gulf Coast League. His age 18 season, just 8 games, 8 starts, averaging about 4 innings per start, a 3.82 ERA. And this is definitely a step up. So he went a level up and pitched much, much better. 35 innings, 30 hits, 36 Ks now. All right, with a 1.19 whip. So remember, this is a growing boy. So, that's the exciting thing about Eddie Ying is, he can be getting bigger and stronger every year and becoming more and more physically imposing, which, again, is the number one characteristic about him in terms of what I'm seeing around the internet. Shout out to the internet for telling me that Eddie Ying is built like a brick house. All right. 2019, he is now in the New York Penn League, Auburn Double Days, just 2 games. Oh, okay. So he got promoted in 2019 from the Gulf Coast League to the short Summer A. And again, the short season New York Penn League is where you're seeing a lot of good prospects, a lot of players right out of college. So now he's 18 years old, and that's who he's competing against. And it's only 2 games there, but he kind of continued his 2019 Gulf Coast League season in the New York Penn League, which bodes really, 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 really well for Eddie Ying. So some exciting upside to Eddie Ying, and she should be well. I'm going to say, so this year you're going to have a high A and a low A. And Eddie Ying is probably going to start at low A. And then we'll see what happens there. So this is the scouting report from Baseball Savant on Eddie Ying. And again, not much in terms of highlights or a lot of coverage on Eddie Ying. So this is what Baseball Savant says. Ying's improved. Okay, I'm just going to read the whole thing. Nationals gave out 6-figure bonuses to 16 different players at the outside of 17-18 international period, including Ying. They signed him out of DR for just $100,000. Pitched to mixed results during his pro debut, which we talked about in the DSL. It wasn't mixed results; those were horrible results. The next year, he really took a jump. His stuff improved across the board and concluded with a late season promotion to the short A season Auburn. He was one of the more talked about prospects during Washington's Fall Instructional League. He improved his velocity, which can be improved to, again, his physical gains. We are back to his physical characteristics. Quickly grown into his predictable frame without detracting from his athleticism and clean delivery, explosive fastball, touching 97 miles per hour at age 19. All right, that was at age 19. I believe age 18. That was at age 18. He's hitting 97 miles per hour. He has a lot of late life and angle, slider 86 miles an hour with depth, promising changeup. Officials were pleased with his progress during the instructional league. Stuff, size, delivery. He looks the part of a future big leaguer. while conditioning could be a major focus. So projecting him is difficult because we don't know what he's going to be in terms of a starter or a reliever. At this point, he could go either way. So I see a lot of people talking about him as a right-handed pitching starter. Yeah, most of his games, almost all of his games at this point in the minor league, he has started, but he's also projectable as a short reliever. No pun intended. I don't even know if he's short. He's just stocky. All right. So they have something there with him, and if he turns out to be the kind of prospect that a lot of people are talking about, now you're looking at two potential starting pitching pieces, adding to the future Pirates rotation, in addition to Kumar Rocker. I'm putting it out there. They're going to take Kumar Rocker with the first pick, and now you can kind of see maybe some potential for the Pirates to have Ying and Rocker coming up together. We don't know where Will Crow will be by then. If he turns out to be as good as I think he will be, he's going to be getting paid at that point and probably being traded to the Nats. Who knows? All right, so again, to close up Eddie Ying, very little experience at this point, 6th ranked prospect in the Net system. And what's noticeable with him is his physical makeup. So where are these guys right now as of I'm not even going to bother looking at Pirates in terms of I might briefly look at their depth chart, but we're not even going to bother digging into that because we know that the Pirates are probably going to be one of the worst teams in baseball this year, if not the worst. But here's how these guys slot in as prospects. Boom, Eddie Ying immediately flies up the charts and is the number 7 prospect in the Pirate system. And the Pirates have some prospects because they do a lot of drafting. And so already bumped up to number 7. Will Crow takes a fall back from his position as the 3rd best prospect in the Nat system now to the 6th or the 17th best prospect in the Pirate system. So to see Eddie Ying jump on the Pirates prospect board is very, very, very encouraging, and that's where the Pirates kind of feel like they're getting a whole lot of value for this. So Pirates fans, chill out. So Crow has a chance to make the team for 21. He will need 3 seasons but you're going to need 3 seasons to evaluate him. And again, that's part of that not having a 2020. Possibly makes sense to start him at AAA. Try to plug him. Try to plug the 2020 development gap. Otherwise, Pirates are focused on making the right draft pick and developing young players. All right, so that's how we leave off with the Pirates. All right, so that is how this trade breaks down. Here's what you could do for me, though. All right, the question is, who's the winner of this trade, right? I'm calling it even at this point until someone outplays their value, and it could happen because there's potential upsides on both ends of this trade. Josh Bell could turn into that 3-4 WAR type of first baseman. His potential is still there, although not much more time for me to give up on that. All right, but he could develop and flower and bloom and really provide value for the Nats who made this deal. Nats are trading from position of strength. Eddie Ying and Will Crow, they were only going to be trade bait. They were never going to pitch for the Nats in any meaningful way, or at least the Nats didn't really need them to. So I'm calling it even. Bell needs to ball out, and then you have upside from both Crow and Ying on the Pirates side. So as of now, it's even until somebody breaks out. But what do you think? Who's the winner of this deal? Do you think Josh Bell can actually return to his 2019 version. And if you got any information on Eddie Ying or uh, or Will Crow that you want to share, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. Don't forget, thanks for watching. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on Facebook to the Council Sports Talk. Follow and like Facebook, the Council Sports Talk on Facebook. On Twitter and Instagram, we are at Council Talk. Make sure that you follow us there. This, that, and all of that. Boom, boom, boom. Facebook, Twitter, IG. I think I got it all up in there. That's going to do it for me. All right. So, holla at your boy. Don't be a stranger. This has been Joeylytics. Check out our new joint coming out. I got a Blake Snell breakdown coming out. This is longer than I expected. I was trying to get this all in for 20 minutes, but that's just kind of how I do. I'll work on it. Appreciate you checking it out. Joeylytics, the Council Sports Talk. Peace out.